The Government Accountability Office says the Chief Financial Officers Act needs a refresh after 30 years. The office has 9 new recommendations for Congress to modernize the act. Dave Maters, Civilian Sector Chief Strategy Officer at Deloitte, former controller at the Office of Management and Budget. Christie Johnson is principal at Deloitte. Welcome, both of you. Thanks for coming on the program. Christie, I want to start with you. This is a typical GAO report in that there is progress made and challenges remaining. What's the progress that the GAO saw and that you see in executing on the vision of the CFO Act?
Yeah, so the CFO community should be very proud of the progress they've made, particularly from a leadership perspective. So right now, it's very clear on what OMB does, the Department of Treasury, and the CFO Council. And we've really seen the CFO role elevated in the organization to become a better business partner. The next step for them is really, now that we've got financial management shored up, is to tie performance more closely to execution and figure out return on investment, which really are the key points in the GAO recommendations.
So, Dave, Christie nailed the one of the 2 of these 5 areas GAO looked at that jumped out at me. The other one for me was financial management systems. It strikes me that not just relative to what GAO is talking about, but anecdotally what we learn about what's happening in financial management systems. Agencies still struggle with just the nuts and bolts of how they do financial management, don't they, Dave?
Yeah, and I've been working in this field for, more than 20 years, and we've made incremental progress. When I was at OMB, I think we, setting up USSM at GSA. I actually think the move by this administration to set up the Quality Service Management Organization and designate the Department of Treasury to oversee that will continue the journey. And I think we've learned a lot of lessons over the years that one size does not fit all. While we can standardize processes and, data definitions, we need to be cognizant of the uniqueness of each of the department's missions and sort of tailor a solution based on their mission delivery imperatives.
The only potential downfall of the CUSMOs that I see, Dave, is the fact that Treasury's offering these services. I don't recall a mandate that the agencies need to use them. Is that something that you think is necessary at some point in the future, or maybe should have happened when the CUSMOs rolled out?
There is a provision in the CUSMO for an exception where they can come in and make a business case as to why they should not use one of the services or products that the QSO offers. And I think and again, that's a reflection on, you need to understand particular uniqueness of missions. And we'll wait and see as to who comes in and asks for an exception going forward.
Christie, the point that you made about leadership was very well taken. The progress that agencies have made is, you're right on target with those, but it strikes me one of the recommendations, one of the observations that GAO made about the challenges is fairly surprising to me. CFOs would benefit from standardized financial management responsibilities to provide them with the necessary authorities to achieve the full potential of the CFO Act. It's a little surprising to me that we're not there already. What would make that work? Should that come from OMB, or where should that kind of standardization come from?
Yeah, so, when you think of the first CFO Act, it really was, let's shore up financial management. The next generation of CFO management really does need to focus on creating span of control and consistency across the CFO position, across the federal government. Most recently, Deloitte completed a study with the Partnership for Public Service, and we found that the roles and responsibilities still are not consistent, which doesn't allow for further collaboration, as well as comparing and contrasting the return on investment that various CFOs are pushing with their organizations.
Christie, what structure would make that work well? And is that up to not just OMB to say, agencies, you're supposed to do this, but then also the agencies to actually get it done?
Yes, absolutely. So it really needs to be a partnership with the agencies as well as OMB. I think the other thing that we're starting to see, as I mentioned, is that, the CFO is a better business partner. And since the initial CFO Act, you've had the creation of new government positions, very important executive positions, the chief data officer, the chief information officer. But what's happened with that is a distillation of managerial reporting. And really, the CFOs are in prime prime position to do such. And by standardizing the role of CFOs of what they have control of and purview over will allow them to be that better business partner. And again, it has to be in partnership with the agencies and OMB.
Christie and Dave, thanks very much for coming on. It's great to have you here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, friends.
Thanks for having us.